Ta'ala, because of His bless and mercy, we can come together without any obstacle here with whole strategies of writing and publishing in a high impact journal. Second, let us greet and pray to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who had brought us to the path of light and left the darkness in this life. The Honorable Associate Professor Dr. Anang Kistyanto, as Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, Associate Professor Dr. Adel Saria, as Speaker. Center, the Honorable Professor Dr. Ahmad Mahbubi, the Honorable Professor Mohammad Hudaib as Speaker, the Honorable Professor Dr. Adel Saria as Speaker, the Honorable Dr. Ahmad Ajib Ridwan as Speaker, the Honorable Ladies and Gentlemen lecturers, and all participants in this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, before we came to the main session, let us start this by praying first, so the event that we will hold on this day will run well without any obstacle at all. Pray based on individual belief begins. Done. Ladies and gentlemen, on this nice occasion, let me deliver the structure of the event today as follows. First, sing the song Indonesia Raya and Mars Universitas Negeri Surabaya. Second, welcoming speech from the head of AIPI Center, Dr. Eli Matul Ima. Third, opening speech from the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, Associate Professor Dr. Anang Kistyanto. Fourth, the main session of the webinar visiting professor program with the theme Strategies of Writing and Publishing in a High Impact of Journal. Fifth, acknowledgement and awarding of activity certificates. And sixth, closing. Ladies and gentlemen, let's open this event by saying Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now, sing the song Indonesia Raya and Mars Universitas Negeri Surabaya. The second agenda is welcoming and opening speech. The first welcoming speech is from our head of AIPI Center, Dr. Eli Matul Ima. To Dr. Eli Matul Ima, time is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Fitria Dwi. Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes, I can hear clearly.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Alhamdulillah, all praise to Allah. In this morning, we can still attend this meeting. Best regards to Dr. Anang as the Dean of Economy and Business Faculty, anyone who is present as Dean in this forum today, and all supported member of Journal Al-Uqud Journal, especially for Mr. Ahmad Ajib Ridwan as Editor-in-Chief Al-Uqud Journal, for the struggle and hard work to manage this journal, and Mr. Binar and Chief of Publication Division on Artificial Intelligence and Scientific Publication Unit, for his time, energy to give assistance to manage the journal that have been published by Universitas Negeri Surabaya. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to distinguished the overseas editor of Al-Uqud Journal for their presence and contribution to the journal and willing to be a speaker in this forum today, Mr. Mohammad Mahbubi Ali, Ph.D. from International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies, Malaysia, Professor Muhammad Hudaib, College of Business and Tourism, University of Prince Mugrin, Saudi Arabia, kemudian Mr. Dr. Adel Sarea, College of Business and Finance, Ahlia University, Kingdom of Bahrain, and once again for Mr. Ahmad Ajib Ridwan as Editor-in-Chief, that also will be speaker today, and then Mr. Arasi Fahrullah from Islamic Economic, Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Negeri Surabaya as moderator today. My deep appreciation goes to Editor-in-Chief, all editor member, and reviewer of Al-Uqud Journal for the time and energy they have devoted to processing and give critical review of the submitted papers. I would like to extend my warmest welcome to all authors of Al-Uqud Journal that have been submitted their excellent work, because no journal without authors, and also as well as the paper journal readers, especially who cited the paper. This is important for us, for everyone who cited any papers of Al-Uqud, especially in his or her article that included index in Scopus. Al-Uqud Journal is one of 5 top Universitas Negeri Surabaya journal that have been transformed to be international journal, not only as national journal, but has been transformed as international journal. Al-Uqud Journal have been played an important role in encouraging activities in research and development on Islamic economic, all about Islamic, Islamic economic law, Islamic business and management, Islamic banking and finance, Islamic philanthropy, Islamic business, ethical and entrepreneurship, and generally on economy and business also. Al-Uqud as a journal international give excellent opportunity to forge collaboration between researcher institution, both within country and with international partner. As we know today, many editors from international partner have been joined in this meeting. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and finally, welcome and enjoy this forum. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. That's the welcoming speech delivered by Dr. Eli Matulima. Thanks to Dr. Eli Matulima for her speech. The next one is opening speech from our Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, Associate Professor Dr. Anang Kistyanto. To Associate Professor Dr. Anang Kistyanto, time is yours.
Thank you, Mbak Fitria, MC. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good morning, selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Honorable Associate Professor Mohammad Mahbubi Ali, Ph.D., International Institute of Advanced Islam Studies, Malaysia. Honorable Professor Muhammad Hudaib, College of Business and Tourism, University of Mugrin, Saudi Arabia, Editor Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research. Honorable Professor Dr. Adel, Sarea, College of Business and Finance, Ahlia University, Kingdom of Bahrain, Editor International Journal of Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management. We would like to thank the presenters. Hopefully, this cooperation will continue in the next activity. Honorable Dr. Eli Matulima, Head of Artificial Intelligence and Publication Unit, UNESA, and team. Honorable Vice Dean FEB UNESA, Head of Study Program, Editor-in-Chief Al-Hud, lecturer, and student who are present at this visiting professor program. The Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Negeri Surabaya, has a vision to become a reputable Faculty of Economic and Business in Southeast Asia in the field of economic education, economic, and business in 2023. Effort toward a reputable faculty are carried out through several programs, including opening international classes, student and lecture exchange program, visiting professor program, conducting MOU with QS 100 University, achieving international accreditation, collaborative research with QS 100 University, and publication and reputable journal. The visiting professor program is an effort to achieve that vision. Therefore, with the visiting professor program, with the topic strategies of writing and publishing on high impact journal, the audience can take insight, the benefit on how to manage a reputable journal, and preferring high-quality paper for publication in reputable journal. Finally, by inviting the best speaker in the field, the Faculty of Economic and Business UNESA, which has been accredited internationally by AQS, is committed to disseminating more ideas and issues of Sustainable Development Goal SDS in the global landscape. By saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, the visiting professor program as a cooperation of the Artificial Intelligence and Publication Unit UNESA and Faculty of Economic and Business UNESA, I open. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks to Associate Professor Dr. Anang Kistyanto for his speech. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come into the main point, that is webinar, and the theme is Strategies of Writing and Publishing in a High Impact Journal, which will be guided by moderator Dr. Arasi Fakhrullah. To Dr. Arasi Fakhrullah, please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ms. Fitria, as MC today. I would like to welcome Dr. Muhammad Mahbubi Ali, our speaker today, Professor Mohammad Hudaib, and also Dr. Adel Sarea, the Honorable our Dean of Faculty, Dr. Anang Kistyanto, the Head of Artificial Intelligence and Publications, UNESA, Dr. Elimatul Ima, the Head of Department of Economics, UNESA, Dr. Sri Abida, and also my beloved colleague, Dr. Ahmad Ajib Ridwan, as head of editor in Al-Uqud International Journal. Thank you. Before I start, and the first session will be delivered by Dr. Muhammad Mahbubi. Allow me to read his curriculum vitae first. Okay, Dr. Muhammad Mahbubi Ali was born in Pamekasan, 5 October of 1983, and today he is living in KL, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. His educational background is from IIUM, Institute of Islamic Banking and Finance, Malaysia, doctoral degree. Master degree from International Center for Education in Islamic Finance, INSAIF, Malaysia. While his bachelor degree is from Tazkia University College, Bogor, Indonesia. And Dr. Mahbubi is a member of Association of Sharia Advisors. His working experience is in International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies, Malaysia, AIPI Consulting, Malaysia, as Director of Sharia, visiting professor in many of Indonesia and Malaysia university, research fellow in International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies, part-time lecturer in INSAIF, postgraduate lecturer in Tazkia, part-time lecturer in UNER, UGM, Indonesia, INSAIF, Malaysia, and researcher in International Sharia Research Academy for Islamic Finance. And I think if I read it all, it will be very much longer because of his so many experience in academic and also in the field of Islamic economics. So I welcome Dr. Mahbubi. Yes, Dr. Mahbubi is already here. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Mahbubi.
Waalaikumsalam.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so I will let Dr. Mahbubi to give us his presentation today.
Thank you, Pak Rash. Let me share my slide.
Yeah.
Can you see the slide?
Yes, already, sir.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good morning, respected Professor, Associate Professor Dr. Anang Kistyanto, Dr. Eli Al-Imah, respected moderator, our distinguished speaker, my guru, my professor, Prof. Mohammad Hudaib, as well as Prof. Dr. Adel Sarea, and not to forget my very good friend of mine, Dr. Ahmad Ajib, who invited me to this very distinguished event and platform for the exchange of idea. Alhamdulillahi lakal hamdu syukra wa lakal mannu fadla wa anta rabbuna haqqa wa nahnu abiduka riqa. Ya muyassira kulli asir yassir alaina kulla asir wa kullu dhalika ilaika yasir. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa ba'du. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer, University Negeri Surabaya, for giving me this honor to share my thought on the topic assigned to me on the role of Islamic finance in sustainable development goals among the distinguished speakers, panelists, and the learned participants here. I consider myself as pengembira, what I call in Indonesian language, sebagai pengembira, because the main topic here is the strategies of writing and publishing on high impact journal, and this topic will be inshallah comprehensively covered and discussed by our three other distinguished speaker after me. So my position is just to provide an introductory discussion for some aspect of Islamic finance on the overview of the Islamic finance landscapes, the role of Islamic finance in SDG, especially in terms of its innovation and initiative of their product and services to align with SDG framework. And also allow me to touch a little bit on this visiting professor program is on how basically to produce high impact writing and publishing paper on high impact journal. Then the last part of my presentation will be on the emerging research topic in Islamic finance that may be taken into account when you prepare some papers or research for publication in high impact journal. So allow me also, before I start my presentation, to clarify my latest position. Currently, I'm no longer with the International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies, because just 2 months ago, I moved to Brunei Darussalam and served the central bank as an Islamic finance expert. But of course, I still engage with some Islamic financial institution in Malaysia and some education provider in Malaysia as Sharia advisor, as well as the lecturer. First aspect of my presentation on the overview and the introduction of the Islamic finance industry globally, and in particular reference letter to Indonesian context. So as you can see here, when we talk about Islamic finance, basically Islamic finance is just a part, even a small part of the economics activities, because when the Sharia defined the economic activities, they define as any activities, which are related to the economic activities in terms of the production, consumption, distribution which are aligned and in accordance with the Sharia principle should fall under the definition of Islamic economy. كل الأنشطة الاقتصادية من التوزيعات والإنتاجات والتسويقات إلى الاستهلاكات المبنية على الشريعة الإسلامية should be part of the Islamic economy. So financial institution, including Islamic finance, is also dealing with the economic activities, at least to support the economic sectors, real sector in terms of the production, consumption, even the distribution. So that's why talking about Islamic economy is much bigger than only speaking on the financial institution, especially banking. So we should not confine Islamic economy, Islam, just Islamic banking, just Islamic finance. It is much bigger. It is a very big sector covering so many sectors, including Muslim-friendly travel, halal food, modest fashion, cosmetic, media and recreation, and of course, not to forget Islamic finance, including now in Indonesia, we do have hotel, Islamic Sharia hotel, hotel Sharia, bahkan bengkel Sharia. Maybe we have this kind of Sharia economy, as part of the ecosystem of economy. And if you look at into the ranking as issued by the Global Islamic Economy Report in 2021, like it or not, Malaysia is still considered as indisputable Islamic financial hub in most of the parameters and indicators. Even the overall rankings, Malaysia is ranked #1, followed by Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Indonesia is #4. So, and if we break down the position, you can see also Malaysia in most of the sector are ranked #1, and Indonesia, our ranking of course is part of the top 10, but we are ranked between 5 to 6 in most of the economy sector. Now, if you zoom in into the Islamic financial sector, you can see that the Islamic financial system would comprise mainly the banking sector, capital market sector, including the sukuk product, as well as the takaful sector. And from the overall sector of the Islamic financial ecosystems, we can see that banking system, Islamic banking, contribute to the largest Islamic financial largest contributor to the global Islamic financial asset, contributing approximately 70% of the total global Islamic financial asset, followed by sukuk, other Islamic financial institution, Islamic fund, and the smallest contributor is the takaful company, which contributes only 2% of the market share from the global Islamic financial asset. And we are happy to share that our Islamic financial system has been spread and introduced, developed in various countries, not only in Islamic countries, but also in the Muslim minority countries. That's why at least the Islamic banking institution have been developed and introduced in more than 72 countries over the globe. Now, zooming in into the Indonesian Islamic finance landscapes. Again, the Islamic financial ecosystem in Indonesia also comprised the Islamic bank, Islamic insurance, other Islamic financial institution, including pension fund, Ar-Rohan, pawn broking, cooperative, mutual fund, and also the Islamic capital market. And the overall market share that we have in Indonesia from the different sector is around 19.16%, while the remaining 89% is still dominated by the conventional financial system. And if we further zoom in the number or the figure into the banking sector, our market share of Islamic Bank in Indonesia since its establishment in 1992 with the introduction of Bank Muamalah Indonesia 30 years ago stood only at 6.52. This based on the last year data. I believe now it increased into approximately 7%, but still compared to the number of Muslims population that we have as a country with the largest Muslim population, the potential, the government support with the establishment of so many committees, including the KNIKS, this number is very small. Yeah, compare, for example, to our neighboring countries, Malaysia, which has already achieved the market share of Islamic Bank of 40%. Yeah, by 2020. Yeah, and you can see Malaysia introduced Islamic Bank in 1983, 10 years before Indonesia implement or introduced Bank Muamalah Indonesia. So within 40 years of the establishment of Islamic banking system or industry in Malaysia, the country managed to achieve 40% of market share, meaning that on average, Malaysia can increase its market share of Islamic banking for 1% every year. That's why within 40 years, their market share is 40%, and it is expected that in the next 10 years, the market share of Islamic bank in Malaysia will achieve 50% of the total banking asset. So if we adopt the similar pattern or approach or growth like Malaysia, so at least we should achieve 30% of Islamic banking market share. So with this kind of number, I think this homework for everybody, for all the Islamic finance supporters, proponents, how to think and to accelerate the Islamic finance market share in Indonesia, especially the Islamic banking sector. Now, in terms of the account, yeah, you can see here, I think this the thing that we are happy, where the number of saving account, yeah, the number of saving account or deposit account in Indonesia is recorded at 40.46 million account, meaning that ada 40 juta lebih orang ya yang memiliki rekening tabungan di bank syariah. And this number, I believe, I think later Prof. Hudaib maybe can correct me if I'm wrong. This number is the largest number, yeah, of the saving account in a country. Even the number of account holder in Indonesia is even larger or higher than the number of Malaysian population, which is only 30 million, or even from larger than most of the GCC countries. And also in terms of the financing account, we have like 6.07 million account, meaning that we have 6 million people that have enjoyed the financing facilities from Islamic Bank. And if you look at on the Islamic financial inclusion, on the one who benefited from the presence of Islamic banking in Indonesia, our Islamic financial inclusion index stood at 11%. Yeah, of course, the data issued by OJK in 2019 has decreased into 9%, meaning that out of 100 people in Indonesia, 9 of them or 10 of them have already benefited from the presence of Islamic banking product and services. Now, moving on to the second aspect of my presentation on the role of Islamic finance for SDG, with special reference to the innovation initiative and issues in embracing the sustainable development goal for Islamic finance. Now, what is Islamic financial? What is the financial innovation? Financial innovation innovation is simply defined as the act of creating a new financial instrument or new ways to use the existing financial asset. That's why the innovation in financial product and services should combine at least in the two elements. One is invention, to invent something new, to create something new. And the second one is the diffusion, the adoption. Adoption from the existing practice. And this basically in line with this, with the spirit of Sharia, where the Sharia scholars said, al-muhafadha al-qadim as-salih wal-akhdhu bil-jadid aslam. We are required as a Muslim to preserve the existing tradition, the existing practice that is still relevant, but also not to forget to embrace the new invention, the new creation, the new innovation, which is more relevant. Wal-akhdhu bil-jadid aslah. This is basically the idea of innovation that is very much in line with the spirit of the Sharia. Now, when it comes to the Islamic financial inclusion, Islamic financial innovation. So Islamic financial innovation is basically the method or process to employ various Islamic legal contract, in a way to develop financial product that are in compliance with the Sharia, but that at the same time able to deliver the relatively similar economic outcome of the conventional financial product. Because we need to understand that we are operating and living in dual banking system, dual financial system where the conventional system is very dominant in nature. Our global Islamic financial asset, compared to conventional, is very small. I believe it is not more than 2%. Based on the data that I have. So that's why we need, when we develop and innovate an Islamic financial product, we need to ensure that our product is competitive, especially compared to the conventional product. That's why the objective of Islamic financial innovation is, one, to develop financial structure. They are not only Sharia compliant, but also it has to offer a distinct social value proposition, as the aspiration of the objective of Sharia, but also not to forget that they can also replicate at least the specific features and characteristic of the conventional financial product, so that the customer, the public, can accept our product easily. But of course, also we are fine with the replication method, or we call imitation approach, on developing and innovating new Islamic financial product. But there are some principles that need to be observed when developing and engineering Islamic financial product and services. The first principle is the principle of balance. The principle of balance basically stress on the balance between the self and other interests, profit, and the social interest, as well as the competitive and cooperative relation. So Islamic finance is different from the capitalism and socialism. In capitalism, the system stress for profit and market-oriented approach for nearly all economic problems. On the other hand, the communism rely mainly on non-profit mechanism to solve the same problem, to solve the economic problem. So Islamic economics, in contrast, take a balanced approach in which both profit and non-profit mechanism are essential for satisfying the economic need. That's why, yes, you can make profit, you can develop a very sophisticated commercial product, but not to forget that in your product there is a social obligation. وَفِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ مَعْلُومٌ لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. Indeed, in your wealth there is a specific right for other people in the form of zakah and other social finance. That's why in innovating Islamic financial innovation, in Islamic financial product, we need to think always the balanced approach, the integration between the social and commercial. And it is basically the message from the verse in the Quran when Allah said, Yamhaqullahu riba wa yurbis sadaqat. Allah eliminated riba with the alternative of trade, contract. In another verse, Ahallallahu al-bay'a wa harrama riba, where when Allah permitted trading activities and prohibited riba. But this verse is basically combined with a letter wa. In Arabic structure, wa means huruf ataf, which basically signify the connection between the two that cannot be separated. Wa yurbis sadaqat, and promote social finance. That's why the development of Islamic financial product should always take into consideration the integration between commercial and social finance. And we can see now the emerging trend in innovation in Islamic finance, where in some Islamic financial product, be it in banking, capital market, even in takaful, now the aspect of social finance has been basically taken into consideration. And we can see with the emergence of wakaf-based deposit, wakaf deposit, we have wakaf share, wakaf link sukuk. Even Indonesia was the first country who issued the sukuk, which is linked together with social finance, which is wakaf. We have also Islamic capital market instrument like mutual fund in Indonesia, which combined together with wakaf feature as introduced by BNI Securitas, for example, together with Dompet Duafa, where an investor can put their money in reksadana, in unit trust, but at the same time they are also entitled to contribute in endowment fund. The second aspect is the principle of integration, where we need to understand that when it comes to the Islamic financial innovation and in product, the financial sector, the financial product is basically intended to serve and create the real values, the real sector. Yeah, so that's why we need to ensure that all the product that we innovate, we develop, it should have a positive implication to the real sector, to the halal economy. So for this respect, you can see here the nature of the Islamic banking product, Islamic financial product are mostly based on asset-based, asset-backed, where you can only offer a product with underlying asset, with underlying services, with underlying benefit, so that the financial product that you are offering have provided a positive correlation with the economic sector, with the real sector in terms of the production, consumption, and other aspects. The third principle is the principle of acceptability. Of course, in Sharia, we understand the very famous legal maxim of mu'amala al-aslu fil mu'amalati al-ibaha, where the default ruling of any financial activities is that everything is permissible except there is a clear evidence that indicate otherwise. So this basically should be the governing principle when developing a new product. We are open for innovation, we are open for creation as long as it is not breaching the prohibited principle. And then the third one is the principle of consistency, where this principle states that form and substance of Islamic product must be consistent with each other, in which the form should serve the substance and the mean should confirm the end. Because al-ghayatu la tubarrul wasila. The good objective does not justify the end. That's why the form and substance should go together in innovating Islamic financial product. And there are some techniques normally when the Sharia scholars, product development team, in Islamic banking, when they are developing product, engine product, the first technique is what they call the modification of classical contract or its modus operandi. Again, because we are living in the financial institution where the bank, for example, is only serving as financial intermediary. That's why the classical approach of applying the contract cannot be done easily in the context of financial system, because the bank need a rule of the third party to acquire the asset. The bank is not the trader by nature. The bank is not the stockholder. That's why they are in need of other parties to basically supply the services, the asset, so that they can justify the profit that they can generate from the financing, or they can enter into various sale contract or other type of Sharia contract. The second technique of the Islamic financial inclusion that normally Islamic financial institution use is the amalgamation of contract, the combination of contract by way of al-uqud al-murakkabah, so that the contract can form a complete product that can deliver a relatively similar economic output. And believe me or not, most of the product are structured with more than only one concept. See, for example, like AMBT that we know, al-ijarah, al-muntah bit-tamri, or musyarakah mutanakisah. Yes, we call it ijarah, we call it musyarakah, but we need to understand that it starts with a commitment. Then we need to introduce what we call the concept of wa'ad, the promise in the first place, and that promise is also supported by one security to ensure that the customer fulfill his promise by way of hamish jiddiyah. Then there are two concepts also introduced in arriving in one particular product based on murabahah, for example. And the third one, they need to enter into murabahah concept to perfect the transfer of ownership of the asset from the seller to the buyer, which is the bank and the customer. But normally the bank will not buy the asset by itself, because the bank is only a financial intermediary. They appoint the customer as the wakil. That's why the bank need the rule of customer as wakil by virtue of wakala. So altogether, in just one contract, one product, murabah financing, for example, we need at least like 4 to 6 or even 7 principles and concepts to be embedded together into one particular product. This way, the al-uqud al-murakkabah play a very important role in innovating new financial product. The third technique is on enhancing the less used concept in Islamic jurisprudence. For example, the concept of wa'ad. If you read the Islamic and classical turath, kitab-kitab fikih, we will not find any chapter on wa'ad, for example, on undertaking, especially under the mu'amalah chapter. Normally, the concept of wa'ad is discussed in Islamic book of jurisprudence in the chapter of nikah, promise to marriage, promise to divorce, promise to rujuk, but not in the muamalah matter. But in the modern Islamic financial institution, we can see that most of the product structured and innovated are basically embedded together with the feature of wa'ad. Even wa'ad now has served as a standalone concept to serve the product, like forward, option, and other derivative product for hedging purposes. Even wa'ad now has developed and evolved into various concept and features. So from one wa'ad into wa'dan into muwa'adah. This way, the concept has evolved and develops from less used concept, less popular, into very famous and very popular. Likewise, urban. And of course, the last technique is on the new innovation using the Sharia scholar's mind to arrive in a particular concept like musyarakah mutanakisah, especially where the product is, where the contract is fall under non-nominal contract or al-uqud wal-musamma. So the type of the Islamic financial innovation normally is of the 3 types. The first one, which is the most common one, is the imitation, where normally we innovate product based on the conventional product. The conventional product over this product, and then the Islamic one will offer the same, especially if the Islamic banking institution is operating under the subsidiaries or Islamic windows of their parent, or like Indonesia, if we are operating under UUS, Unit Usaha Syariah. Of course, the second aspect, which is ideal one, is the mutation, where it should come from the original, authentic Sharia concept, and then crafted and developed into a distinct Islamic product, which are distinct with the Islamic, with the conventional finance. And the last one, of course, it is also quite common, where the product is basically established based on the real need of customer, by way of the satisfaction approach. Islamic banks, Islamic financial institution do survey on the feasibility study and on the customer need of the product, so that from the feedback, then they can develop product based on the need of the public. Now, these some of the initiative of the Islamic financial innovation in correlation with the alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, why there is a need for the Islamic financial product, for the Islamic financial institution to align their product and services with SDG in terms of their innovation and an initiative. First, of course, because I think there is some kind of ongoing awareness from the industry player for paradigm shift, to shift the paradigm from merely the Sharia compliant approach into Maqasid compliant. So it is not sufficient that the product is compliant from the Sharia principle, but also how to ensure that the product is also in compliant with the Maqasid to have a better values and produce the more positive contribution not only to the industry, not only to the shareholder, but also to the people and planet. The second reason is we have the global shift, in the market where even the conventional financial system now are moving toward this alignment and this awareness into the climate change, the Sustainable Development Goal, for example, by the introduction of UNDP SDG, the Global Alliance for Banking on Values, the integrated reporting, or in accounting framework, we know the triple bottom line framework, where the reporting should not only concern on the financial ratio, but also should also take into consideration the contribution of the institution to the society, to the economy, as well as to the environment, the Ecuador principle and other aspects. Market expectation now, I think the customer, the public are also aware that there is a need for the Islamic financial institution to also concern with the issue of ecological sustainability, environment protection due to the climate change, and also market decline, where I think for the last few years, our market growth of Islamic finance is less than double digit, so that there is a need to find new method, new technique to attract the customer, to attract the people to participate in Islamic financial institution, and one of which is via socially responsible investing and financing. And this, in a nutshell, basically the 17 Sustainable Development Goal that is introduced by the UNDP, United Nations Development Programs, and these basically the
Dr. Mahbubi.
Yes. Yeah. How many minutes left?
Perhaps you can have 5 more minutes again.
Sure. Thank you,
Yes.
Doctor. Okay. So with the 17th Islamic Development Goal, have the Islamic financial institution have tried to translate into the emerging Islamic financial innovation initiative, where now many Islamic financial product and services are focusing on renewable energies, a green project, integration of commercial and social finance, as mentioned earlier, in which the blended finance come together, not only the commercial aspect, but also the social aspect, and the role of Islamic finance in education in terms of their financing, SME and microfinance, SME, public infrastructure, affordable home, but not to forget the unstoppable digitalization with the introduction of Islamic banking, Islamic digital banking, and Islamic digital finance. And these some the initiative offered by the UNDP to embrace Islamic finance for SDG. For example, the UNDP initiative with IDB in 2016 to establish what we call the Global Islamic Finance and Impact Investing Platform to provide market-based solution to development challenges and to position Islamic Fund Impact Investing as enabler for its SDG implementation. And in fact, the SDG principle have been incorporated by IDB into their 10 years strategy to align Islamic finance with SDG in terms of the inclusiveness, connectivity, economic and social infrastructure, as well as private sector development. In Indonesia, for example, USDG has also approached the Basnas, Bank Amil Zakat Indonesia, to apply Zakat Fund toward local SDG plan beginning with renewable energy project in underserved communities, and also the UNDP is working with Wakaf Indonesia to collaborate with on SDG and digital platform for Wakaf endowment contribution. In Malaysia, for example, with the introduction of value-based intermediation, VBI in 2017-2018, basically the country aimed to integrate SDG with Islamic finance, so that the assessment of Islamic financial institution, in particular referring to banking and takaful sector under the purview of Bank Negara Malaysia, is not only looking at the financial and quantitative approach, but also looking at the initiative made by the financial institution toward people and planet, toward the impact to the economy and the impact to the environment. That's why we can see here some initiative put forward by the Islamic banking institution in Malaysia, like RHB, introduced the first debit card in Asia Pacific using recycled material. HSBC Amanah issued UNDP Sustainable Development Goal, as well as ESG, Islamic Structured Product, Public Islamic offer, even the preferential margin rate if the financing is for energy efficient vehicle like electric car, using ITAP financing. CIMB, SME also offered various incentive for SDG related financing and saving, like preferential financing rate for new hybrid vehicle, eco-safe saving account, as well as the renewable energy financing, as well as other banking. And also some sukuk issued are aligned with SDG, with the introduction of green sukuk, social sukuk, sustainable development sukuk, as well as blue sukuk. Yeah, now is evolving to fund marine and ocean-based project. And this one of the example on how the Islamic financial product like sukuk can be used to support the education system. The school like the one issued by Hazana for the sukuk ihsan for education. And also in Indonesia, we introduced the sovereign green sukuk, yeah, to support the government project related to green and environmental friendly infrastructure. And Indonesia also, we are very proud. I think Indonesia is one of the most innovative country in terms of the innovation in product in sukuk. We do have also smart sukuk issued by Blossom Finance to raise fund for microfinancial institution using blockchain technology by way of Ethereum. And this is the structure that you can refer by yourself due to interest of time. And also the integration of Islamic commercial finance and social finance in some sector, being Islamic banking, Islamic capital market, takaful with the takaful wakaf, Islamic microfinance with the BMT, Baitul Mal wa Tamwil, a house of financing, and a house of social finance, as well as Islamic crowdfunding. And this basically structure how BMT basically at the institutional level can play a very ideal institution to translate the comprehensive integration between social in commercial finance, at least in theory and concept. Also the integration of commercial finance with wakaf in various countries. And Indonesia, we do have this also, the sukuk, which is linked together with wakaf features. But of course, there are some challenges that we are facing in integrating SDG to Islamic finance, mainly on the lack of integrated framework, how to integrate Islamic SDG to the Islamic finance to be in line with Makosid Sharia, whether the all 17 principles are in line and compliant with Sharia principle, for example, like gender equality, whether it is Sharia compliant or not. So that integrated framework is still absent until now. So it may make a difficulty for the institution to operationalize and translate SDG in the current banking product and services. Human capital to translate and to operationalize is also another concern, and absent of SDG performance benchmark specific to Islamic finance. Let me just skip some aspect of this education provider in Islamic finance, and focus on one particular slide on the emerging issues in Islamic finance. So perhaps that can become some of the consideration for learned participants here to undertake research in Islamic finance. These are some of the ongoing emerging issues that I observe personally from my humble reading and experience. Of course, later on, Prof. Hudaib and other distinguished speaker may add and may correct for that. One is on the Islamic fund resilience and sustainability, how the Islamic finance ensure its sustainability and resilience, especially during pandemic and beyond. Islamic finance role in SDG, as our discussion earlier, Islamic finance and ESG, as well as value-based intermediation, and also what is the role of Islamic finance in financial inclusion and financial literacy, the integration of Islamic finance with social finance, and the role of Islamic finance in economic growth, harmonization and standardization of Islamic finance, Sharia governance and compliance risk is also another ongoing interesting research. And not to forget how to have more alternative Sharia compliant product for personal financing and Islamic credit card, which are very much structured based on tawarruk, which is being very dominant in the current Islamic financial regime. With that, thank you very much for your kind attention. My apologies for any shortcoming and for the excess of time. Over to you, Mr. Moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, looks like actually we need more time with Dr. Mahbubi today, but we are very sorry that we have very limited time. And
no worry. Inshallah,
yes,
we will be having offline later. I will go to Surabaya next month. Inshallah, we will be having.
Okay,
visiting.
doctor. Okay, doctor. Inshallah, we will meet. Alhamdulillah. Okay, for the next session, I would like to have and welcoming Professor Mohammad Hudaib. He is from College of Business and Tourism, University of Prince Mugrin, Saudi Arabia, and the editor Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research. And allow me to read that I have also noticed here that Professor Muhammad Hudaib is also affiliated with Adam Smith Business School, University of Glasgow. And he has numerous publications within the specialty and published in reputed national and international peer-reviewed journals. And he is one of the expert in Islamic economics journal writing, and also as editor. Professor Muhammad Hudaib today will deliver us the speech about preparing high quality papers for publication in reputable journals. And I believe we all as academics will need this so much. So I place you, Professor Muhammad Hudaib. Time is yours.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam.
So my voice is clear. Can you hear me right?
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, good. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Salatu salam wa Rasulullah. Thank you very much for the invitation. And it's really, I'm pleased to be with you today. I don't want to mention names, but I will kickstart the presentation. So I want to share, is this my slides now you can see? Can you see my slides?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so inshallah, without further, I want to save the time since we have, just limited time. The task you asked me to do, obviously, is how to publish a quality paper in a journal. Although you asked me to do a reputable journal, but the issue of reputable journal is a question mark at the moment. But the most important is how to write a quality paper. Of course, the task, quality paper will be also judgmental. However, there is a very important point that quality journal or article will has to have. The first one, and perhaps most of you know, has to be the contribution and the originality. If we can't have that, then the paper will be almost more or less as difficult to really qualified or to be judged as an original or as a quality paper. So the first one is the originality or the contribution, and the second point which is fundamentally important, is the vehicle or the vessel that where you deliver that originality to the others or to the scientific community, which is now a manuscript. The manuscript has to consist of a part or some method or writing and structure that will help you to deliver that original or that contribution to them. They are, scientific people or people who read papers, they have their mind structure in different ways, so we need to meet their own, the way they perceive things in reality. Equally, the opposite side, which perhaps you need to know, that do not consider publishing a paper or writing a paper that lack interest or the result is outdated and you expect it to be a quality. So you need to be a judgmental. You need to judge your own work first before you go into asking people to accept your work. So for example, replicating works, or you try to do another paper but different settings, although this sounds good, but it needs further work in order to make it acceptable. I'll show you what I mean by this point. So you need to develop, as part of your mission for quality paper, you need to develop the awareness of your paper. Why is this topic is important? Although there is a marketing aspect, you sell your work indirectly, but before you go into that, you need to know what people talk about. What at the moment, those people who are you are targeting their own, let's say, reading or audience. So what they are doing, what are they writing about? So there's the variety of methods you can approach it, or you can find. For example, I give you here, for example, you look to the most downloaded papers or articles. And not necessarily you hit the millions or thousands. It could be, just a good numbers, means that even up to, because the field, if it's small area, let's say Islamic economics or Islamic accounting, you expect about even 100, 200, that really good to give you that sense that this paper has something. And therefore, you want to know why people develop or interested in reading this the issue that why people what these topics they are talking about. You can use also the Scopus and Web of Science as most cited papers. This is very almost we almost know. Then is one website, I put it here, that it shows that, also if you want to know who's talking about your paper, and if you allow me to go to this website, I think I show it here. If you just click this one, you can get into, who talk about your research. Then you can find where basically there is some matrix, and you can read more about this one. This is one of the latest almost method of trying to go into, classifying our papers and, giving it different ranking. So, also the approach of ranking journals and the approach of ranking articles, and the researchers themselves are moving and changing over the time now. It's not like what used to be in the past, let's say 10, 20 years. So also you need to keep the trend. You as a researcher, you need to have a link with one particular journal or journals where they give you an alert every issue comes out. So they will give you a kind of, you'll need to see that just the abstract. You will have the abstract, and you will have, a small, especially you read the titles. So you are aware of these keywords of your work. The impact of this, because when you are at the moment writing your paper, and there's a new title comes, that will give you a chance to capture these keywords and capture this reflect in your work. So you are actually perfecting your work as you also go along with the research. Of course, and then about the journals, you need to know what kind of journals they're publishing, and then the factors or these issues of the journals. They are, for example, you have the impact factor of the journal, and you have the journal matrix, like SNIP and SJR. With this one, actually, this is behind this one, you can see the mainly it's Elsevier. Again, if I just show you what I mean by this, I think Elsevier is trying to capture or try control or to define the word of quality papers, all these things. So if you look to, of course, this is how the meaning of it, but basically you will find more onto what we are looking for. So if you are trying to understand that how these papers or how the journals are ranked and some metrics used, that's important for you to, as a researcher, to be aware of it. Why is that? Because you need to put yourself in the future trend rather than you look for old ranking or some method that might be helpful, which means, of course, the journals, the Scopus, for example, that's what your target. But you want to have more exposure in terms of your name, or this journal will be associated with, for example, Google Scholars, or will capture another trend or another matrix, which will give you higher ranking or higher rate. And then also you will talk about, sometimes you'll have a manuscript, but you don't know which journal I should go for. Now you have, then you try to go, hit and miss. And try to find which one. But there is a website or number of help, especially also Elsevier behind it. If you start look for a journal that fit my or the journal best journal fit my article, you can find it in these websites. But what you have here as well is that, of course, the standard quality article, which accepted papers, will be those are in ABS list and ABCD list as well. Of course, our journal like JBAR is 1 star, and that considered to be at least you are in the kind of the league or top list of the articles known in the European and American market. ABCD is the Australian and New Zealand, but that means that you are actually achieving a high exposure by conventional or people who are not interested actually in Islamics, but you are actually approaching or coming to the peripheries and around, into their own kind of orbit and radar. And that's a strategy for you, because after 5 years, this paper will be almost still exist and people might come to it. Quality paper actually will have a proper structure and proper format, and that actually will be almost controlled or guided by the journal you are targeting. Okay, what's next is that now, of course, I put this, if you want to read just now, the website, the top 25 science direct, what topic they're talking about in different fields. But if you try to get into avoidance, first, if you want to write a good paper, try to avoid also not to get your paper rejected. So, not necessarily that paper is not well written, but perhaps that's not really fitting the right fit for you. And as I said just now, you have to look to try to zoom and see which journal that will take your paper. Sometimes a paper is excellent, but because the journal do not take theoretical or non-empirical research, they will reject it, will be in the disk rejection. So you thought this is something wrong with your paper, but actually no, the paper is right, it's good, but you target the wrong platform, and therefore you have to be selective. So, and then the rejection, of course, will have a bad impact on you. Psychologically, you'll be, it'll take you maybe 1 week to recover from this feeling. It's very bad, it's not easy to be rejected. And whatever reason, even for bad fit, you'll feel bad. So that will take more time of you. So I've said, we'll add number of months to your, for you to go back and submit again to the journal or any journal or a journal that you think it's suitable. But that'll take you about 1 week also, just, applying and filling up and writing them, opening, the letters and all these things. And so that also the impact overall will slow your career progress. So you don't want to really waste this time or this effort for, you know, for some things that you really should have done it from the beginning. Also, one indication of what is the best article or journal for my paper, look to the paper, your paper, and look to the references you are kind of, you know, quoting or, you know, referring to. These articles you are referring to, they will have, you know, published in a certain journal. So you might target or narrow number of journals that will help you to go through or to submit. There is another tool, like as I said to you, if you just Google journal best suits my paper, and then you can find, if you key in the title and abstract in that, you know, search engine, they will give you which journal outside your field sometimes that might or consider accepting your paper, and that will give you a good exposure on a quality journal. So if you are used, let's say, Islamic art journal or Indonesian journals, but you really want to go to European and somehow, you know, outside just, you know, your area, so that will give you that kind of, you know, help or you know, zoom into a better journal or, you know, something new. Okay, what next is that now writing the paper, basically, if you haven't wrote, you know, prepare the manuscript in a, you know, in academic way, I understand most of us, you know, sometimes we like to speak practical, and the language of practitioners are different than the language of academics, and the way academics think and consider. They don't like vague or something that it's not have been like turned and minimized and really clarified into a smaller points that they can link things together, or the flow kind of go into very, you know, develop over the time as they read. Practitioners, I can throw them into the field of the research, and then they already like use their own imagination and experience, and then they capture the idea. Or journalists sometimes they throw the concepts and then they take you to another points, and then they bring you back to another points, and they go back to old concepts. So we are not like that. Academics, you write direct and short sentences. We call it in a more academic looking paper. If it like that one, right away the editor, they might say, oh, this is not a paper, this is a journal, this is something like they call it a newspaper article. It's not for academics. And then he will, or the reviewers will ask, if it go to him, said he will write to the editor, said, are you sure this paper is meant for the journal or for a newspaper? So you need to be careful about the language and the way you write. And how do I know the academic style? Basically, as you know, the best method, you just read a well-written paper to guide you and see how they write things, how they write the sentences, how they, you know, connect things together. So as you know, the sentence will be one idea, 1 point each sentence, and then you know, avoid basically multiply or multiple sentence in one paragraph or one line or one you know, sentence, which, like, you know, this because will create confusion. For you will be clear, very obvious. If you ask your friends to read it, said yes, this is clear. But for someone who doesn't know you, he still need to develop and understand your paper. And imagine now you are talking about someone who doesn't know what the whole paper all about. So if you give him, then he's in a page 1, let's say, or on the introduction, and then you throw a sentence that he cannot get around it, like the first one here, for example, you talk about something, you know, you know, here crowd, you know, at the end it's like about crowd funding, but what this person, what you are trying to say? Okay, I didn't get 100% understanding of this sentence. Then you take me to another paragraph, I didn't get it. So that's right away. The reviewers will not have a patience or sympathy to wait until the last page in order to understand everything. They all said, well, it's poorly written, I don't understand. Actually, or they might say, there's no contribution. I couldn't find a contribution, reject. So that's perhaps you need to pay attention to the clarity or the language. It's very important. Again, also try to avoid the opposite way. When I said short sentence, I didn't mean it too short. Some people said, like, you give you this sentence, for example, interactions, quality signals can be transmitted. Like, what else? That's it. That just well, then he'll link it to another page, another sentence. Then it go through updates, comments. But still, you know, it's not really good way of writing. So basically, you have to be, as I said, develop an idea within one sentence and then you take it. But that need more practice. And then, of course, our language is not English. We're speaking almost our own language every day. When it comes to writing, it comes only once a month, or you know. So that's still you need to really practice more in order to avoid the language and for your paper to be rejected by language. From my experience in my journal, actually most paper rejected, I have to say, because of the language. So I have very enthusiastic authors. The title is excellent, the topic is excellent, but has not been, we call it, it has been prematurely submitted. If the author spent another 1 month to perfect it, send it to someone who really can read and give them very good grammatical improvement. I'm not saying it has to be 100%. It can be. You will leave some, even if you cannot, improve it, but to the last, round for review, because in our journal, the publisher will improve the grammar. So they will give you an edit, surface free. But at least you have to bring the paper into an understanding piece of work that people can understand or comment on it. So if I want to spend more time, because it's very important, I will give you example. Sometimes the reviewers misunderstand points of the paper, then they make a comments, and then it goes to the authors. The author kind of modify the paper, and then part of the comments they said you have to proofread the paper. When it's proofread, it come back to us, and then the idea has changed now. We now understand the paper more, and then the reviewers start giving more comments. Different than the previous one. So the author started complaining, said, look, my papers now, the reviewer say something and now say something different. What's wrong here? What's going on? Of course, we don't, he or the authors don't understand that the quality of the papers has changed, and therefore also the writing has changed. And then the thing or the impression or the signals that the papers are giving has almost changed, and therefore we feel this is actually a first review, although it may be the second or third round of revision. Okay, the structure of the paper is very important. Of course, all of you know, I don't need to really go over all this list, but what's left, I want to spend more on number 4 about the literature review. So the title, abstract, introduction. Sorry, number 3 and 4 is very important, and number 9. These are very fundamental for a quality paper. Of course, the abstract is also important, but not like the introduction. Introduction is the most important part of the paper. Any quality paper, the author spent a lot of time, more time to perfect and to improve the introduction. Introduction will be about 1 or 2 pages maximum, but it has the key success, or the most important thing is the introduction. Our most authors, they think this is not important. They leave the introduction at the last, which is true. You should leave it to the last. You start with the literature review, but when you start writing the introduction, you must spend most of your time to really capture and improve this introduction. Let me show you more when I come to this part. I'll talk about it more. So the title, what kind of title? People actually read is like the food. You look by the look. When your eyes start seeing the food look appetizing and nice, you order a food, or you perhaps, try to taste it. So also the title, try to make it catchy with a few words. Don't make it like 3 lines or 4 lines. The less line, the less words you put, but the catchy words, that will give the people a feeling that they want to know this paper, they want to read. And then you basically try to bring the abstract, which will follow your title, and then therefore people said, oh, this paper is really good. And most people actually, they just stop reading after reading abstract. They read the introduction and that's it. They got everything they want from the paper. They didn't need to read everything like the analysis or the conclusions. Not for them, that's enough. Especially when you read, you write the abstract and the introduction in a very good way. So the abstract, use it as an opportunity for you to sell, to market your article. That's where they read. And most journals, because now if they publish your journal online, the free part, they'll send it, they'll publish for you the abstract. If they want to read the paper, the authors or the readers have to pay for the journal, for this article. But abstract will be free. So therefore, it's your chance to really rewrite the abstract as a very fundamental and important point for accepting your work. And also for these people who will read your abstract, they can or they will appreciate your work. And unfortunately, the abstract is not too long. You have to maximum, most journals ask you to write about 250 words. That means you have to be very precise. You have to rewrite it a number of times. You have to really spend more time into how to make these 250 enough to capture and all what you want to say, like the contribution, to some extent the limitations, or perhaps before that, why it is important, why the paper is important. You have to be very clear. The abstract has to be very strongly influencing or kind of persuading people or the auditors to take your paper forward, or for at least considering sending it for review. So the abstract always will be read by the editors and the reviewers as the first thing they want to get impression about your work. And that's it. So the moment you pass that kind of hurdle, what's left is now those reviewers, which we'll deal with them now, but afterwards. But basically, your paper once went and reviewed, you'll get feedback anyway. So it means that you can improve the paper later on if it's not successful. Okay, introduction now, if you go to the introduction, why the introduction is important? Because the introduction will add value to your research. Why is that? Because the introduction it consists or contains all the parts of your paper, but it's just a small parts of it. So it will contain a very concise and very short literature review, a glimpse of your research methodology, and also the findings. So I put this number of points here. For example, as I said, it adds validity to your research because you need to sell. You could say, this topic I'm doing is very important. This topic is important in my country or in my field or today or due to something. So you need to bring some kind of validity. Introduction will give you this chance. You will not be able to do it, for example, in the conclusion section will be too late, or in literature review, it's not really appropriate. So introduction will be the chance for you to sell the paper. And then you will highlight the need. So as I said, if you research, if you go and you find the top 20 cited papers, you'll find this, for example, said this paper has been cited, or this topic has been searched in the last 3-4 years, and this, in a particular area. So this is give you a chance or reason for people who read your work that you are actually up to date to this one. So, and then it will give you a chance to demonstrate to readers your thinking. what is your approach or how you offer something new. So the relationship between certain parts of the phenomena you are doing, or certain, the way you are presenting is something new, or something you want to reorganize some relations, that actually your chance to offer it, and backed with the justification why this is important. So, so that's where you need to really consider when you are writing introduction. One thing here, most people, because you write your research, literature review, usually the first thing you do, but you do it sometimes 2-3 years ago, then you come back to the empirics, and then later when you come put the whole papers together, this passes about 3 years. But then when you submit it to the literature, to the review, to the journal, you notice actually your research sources or the reference papers become slightly old. So before you submit, go to the latest papers published in the same area about 1 year, 2 years, and bring them into the paper again, introduce them, which you missed earlier, and reflect on them. Or train, as I said, make them looks like you are building your work on these just last year published paper or 2 years ago published paper. That will give you a relevance. And then whoever published that paper maybe will be the best candidate to review your work, because the person who published 2 years ago or last year, a paper comes to really building or referring to his work, he will think that this is very good paper, because they are really up to date, they reflect and have very much knowing what I'm doing. So they are actually capturing these ideas and then moving forward. The second point, which is Indonesians and most Asian actually authors don't understand or lack, they are not really reflecting, is the issue of theory, the theoretical lens. I will come back to it as part of the research methodology. The lens or the theory is very problematic. Research methodology, actually, we are the weakest almost in the, most in the, almost Asian tend to have or neglect the theoretical lens or the theoretical or abstract arguments. And that's actually very important. You need training, you need exposure to allow you to say with confidence that because you are following that theory, the empirics, if it falls short, your paper is still good, because the theory can guide you and give confidence to the quality paper. The theory can be visible, can be obvious in their paper, or can be hidden. You can make it embedded. So people who are right, they knew which theoretical lens you're taking. I'll give you an example. Most Marxists, those who believe in Marx and who write critical, when they criticize, let's say, something in economy or something in social practices, they will not say I'm a Marxist, or he would not tell you what Marx said, but they use a certain words and terminology from reading Marx or the Marxist, they bring them into their work. So the reviewers and editors know this guy coming from that particular line of thinking. So I will not criticize his findings later, because I know this guy is building his work and on let's say socio-psychological Marxist line, or very, let's say, fundamental. Even if you are using positivist, means I'll show you now what I mean by that. But if you are using regression analysis, so you are using this terminology in statistics and the validity test, this is your language. So I know you don't say in positivism, you tell me a theory of positivism, what positivism means, and the relationship, and so it's already there. But we forgot when we start writing our analysis and writing our literature review, you need to be critical of using your own theoretical lens. So you need to be either focused, and most authors now, they focus on one particular theoretical dimension. So, right, but for me and my colleagues, because we are Muslims and also we work in the West, we need actually multiple track, and to make us a little bit weak or a little bit kind of diffused in both areas. But it's a necessity. We need it. We need to write about critical in order to criticize the Western practice, the capitalism, or the new liberalism. And then we need also to be empirically, testing and positivist. So because we need to publish. But that's this
Excuse
point.
me, Professor.
Yes.
I'm afraid you have only 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes, inshallah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll speed now. Let me zoom to the next point, which is very, I would say, important. Okay, I'll skip this writing. Basically, this is, very, known to us, or how to write, the literature review. But the next one, I want you to say this: the literature review. This one, this is very important. I'll make it as big as I can. Do not write literature review as agreeing with everything written. And you said, okay, in this case, Indonesia, we have this, or I'm going to do it in Indonesia. So literature review, you just not summarize the sources or analyze and synthesize, the sources and put them in, define, like you put them in like who wrote what. You must be critical. You must argue. You must spell professional doubt on every paper you read. You must do that. And when you put in your literature review, actually the readers, they will start actually understanding how important your work. So you simply do not agree with everything. And that will open up the gap for you. And you must be strong enough to criticize. Even use your own religion, use your own belief to criticize literature, let's say in economics or in sociology or marketing or anything. You said this is not good, it's not acceptable in millions of people. You have 200 million, 100 million people, Muslims, who doesn't believe in this. And therefore, that's give you a justification on why that your paper has to be published. Take the Japanese attitude, for example. Japanese, when they write, the first line, they say this is not acceptable or applied in Japan. So Japanese, they took different route. They're not published a lot, and they don't care much about publishing abroad or international, but they are kept their own understanding to themselves. So actually, they are internalizing the process of research. Okay, what here is that basically, I give you example. When basically, if you are publishing on positivist or research like empirical, but you are using statistics, basically you need to analyze or hypothesize using as much as clear the concepts. So don't leave a concept that's not really clearly defined. For example, job satisfaction this can be common and general concepts, but if you are using the effectiveness of audit committee or effectiveness of, let's say, a management on a bank, this effectiveness as a concept, it cannot be just say you use one proxy and you said this is effectiveness. In the good journal, they will really break it down or make a number of concepts together. So in order to be and improve the definition of concepts using this kind of proxies. So conceptualizing some big concepts that using different approach or adding different proxies together, this is very important. But you throw one big vague concept and you give it one proxy, it will not lead you anywhere. But if you are using, for example, I'll leave this one. Let me go if you are using, for example, critical framework. Critical framework, basically here. So as I said, you bring a theory lens to interrogate the concepts and the literature and your analysis. So this theory, when you read it, let's say, you have a lot in socio-psychology in management field, or have many theoretical, actually, many journals and good journals in the management journals, they write theoretically, they write theory. So you take that theory and you read it or use it for your writing the literature and lead you to also interpret the result. So when you come to writing, don't put your own words. Let the data speak. So let the reality speak, for example, what you find, and then that's it. Actually, the work you are actually just documenting what's the people or what you found. Obviously, you have to be aware of being biased. Okay, the stereotyping you see here is like I face myself, the issue of stereotyping when you write a paper. the stereotyping that sometimes you misinterpret the data in order to fit a stereotype about certain phenomena, or something that, why is this? Because you want to publish. I'll give you example. Just I'll finish the presentation today with this point. We wrote a paper on the accounting history, and we sent it to a journal, reputable journal in the US. And in that journal, the history and accounting history in Indonesia. And we realized that there's a Japanese period where actually Indonesian managed to get a lot of kind of freedom, or more of, to be self-reliant. And that actually where's the accounting kickstart and independence started. We put this one, the reviewers reject this idea. They said, no, Japan always bad. They didn't do anything good to anything in the world during incubation. You should remove this. I said, we have historical evidence. So the stereotype in the mind of the observer, in the mind of the reviewers, still want to influence, or the biasness. So, but anyway, it's just, show you that how much, we need to really engage our work when you are writing a paper, like, for high quality journals for publication. I'll leave the rest. Just the last one here, the last point, just last one, is the implications. You must identify, or you must say in your paper, the impact of, or the implication of your work. Is it going to be good for teaching? Is it going to be improving, for example, some kind of practice, like what just brother Ali was introducing about Islamic economics or Islamic finance? This will, certain uqud or contracts will improve the practice, influence public attitudes. This is very important. Most people tend to forget about it, and then if you don't mention the implications, that means what's the point of writing the paper? So quality papers always have an intention, either bring awareness. So you need to include this one as part of your, writing paper for quality journal. And that's it for me today. I felt you took 5 minutes from me, but I don't know, is someone or my watch is not working properly. But thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Professor Muhammad Hudaib. Actually, I'm so sorry. I have to cut because
We don't have time.
our another speaker is already here.
Okay.
So I hope after this session, participants will have many questions for all the speaker for today. So thank you again, Prof. Hudaib. And now I welcome Professor Adel Sarea from College of Business and Finance, Ahlia University, Kingdom of Bahrain, editor, International Journal of Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management, and Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research. And today he will deliver us the speech about how to manage a reputable journal. And before I will read a little about Professor Adel Mohammad Yaslam Sarea. He has more than a decade for teaching experience, supervised several PhD and master students at Monash University, Australia, Edith Cowan, Australia, George Washington, USA, Brunel University, UK, UPSI, IIUM, and USIM, Malaysia. Has possessed over 100 publications indexed in many of journal, and the member of Accounting and Finance Association of Australia and New Zealand, AFAANZ, and he has also become the winner of Emerald Literary Award from UK 2014 for Best Paper and 2022 for Outstanding Reviewer. So I welcome Professor Adel Sarea. Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You hear me now?
Yes, yes. Okay, so I place Professor. Yes, I place you. Yes.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين. I am the associate editor of the journal, the editor Prof. Mohammad, and also the associate editor of the International Journal Islamic Finance, the editor Professor Kabir Hassan, just to correct that, and also the external examiner of Ph.D. candidates in Monash and the rest, and supervisor only with in Brunel University, London, as co-supervisor. Allow me to share some. First of all, I'd like to thank you all and welcome you all. In the Middle East now, still too early morning time, about 6 o'clock morning time. Yeah, and if you allow me just to share my slides, can you open the system, because I'm trying to share the slides, but I couldn't. If you can help me, please.
Okay.
Today I'm going to speak about the first part of this presentation about, we call it tips in international publications. We will share our humble experience. And of course, I'd like to thank Professor Mohammad, mashallah, he covered a lot of points. So I will take maybe a few minutes to cover the first part. And the second part, how to manage high quality journal. So please help me to share the slides. I have many slides, but I think we have only maybe less than 20 minutes. I will try my best to cover the main points. So can you share the slides, please?
Committee, anybody can help me to share the slide of Professor Adel?
No, I shared, but I can't see it. If you see it now?
Already seen, sir.
You see the slides. Okay. The outlines, as I said, the first part, I will talk about tips in international publications, and the second part, how to manage reputable journal. So the outlines, as you can see, we will talk about before submission and ranks of the journals, publication, the structure of a research paper, and Professor Mohammad, he covered many points. So I will try in a few minutes to go direct to the how to manage the international journal. So how do you find the right journal? And this is very important. Publication process, editorial, what we do as associate editor, and I will talk about the editorial decisions, managing editors, and reviewers' comments. Before you submit or before we start, let me share with you this slide and 100 research rules of the game. And I strongly recommend young scholars to read this article. I benefited a lot from this article. I got some ideas I used in here in some slides. So this article published by Journal of Asia Business Studies, I think in 2015, and very useful journal. Getting published, achieving acceptance from reviewers and editors. This article, if you go to the link, I can share the slides later with you. The organizer also can share it with all the audience. It helps a lot to get some ideas as the associate, the editors, and also reviewers, what we are looking for. so many things behind the scene, but 100 research rules of the game can help. This is just for before submission or before you submit or publication. The second slide, just a quick, any young scholar, they should be familiar with the ranks of the journal. And this is very important. Like, for example, ABDC Australian ranking, ABS ranking, Scopus, ISI, and Schemagic. So many things. Hello? Hello? I hear echo here. The organizer.
Yes. I'm sorry, Professor. Committee, please help to mute.
Yeah. So the ABDC ranking and ABS, Scopus, and all younger scholars, they should know more about Q1, what is Q2, Q3, and Q4, the equation, and ISI, the Web of Science, we call it ISI. And it helps a lot, in publishing research. And before you submit, or you plan to submit or to write, you have to select the journal, and you have to read a lot about this journal. You have to know the rank of this journal, and you have to know the key journals in your area. I have selected some journals only just to share with you, and this is very important for all scholars, maybe younger scholars, to get more information about these journals, ranking, publisher, and if open access or not open access. This is very important. It helps to also promote your research in the future. I have selected the Islamic accounting and business research, and we have the editor, Prof. Mohammad, and I'd like to thank him. He's our editor, and he's with us today. And I would like to thank also Professor Kabir Hassan. He's the editor of the Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management. I am the associate editor of this journal, and also ISRA International Journal of Islamic Finance. We have many journals. So here I'm trying just to share with you the key journals, and all scholars in your area, you must know the key journals in your area. Also, my advice to all scholars, when they prepare their work, they should know the major conferences in your area. At least what I recommend, you have to search for the, we call it the top journals, ranked journals, and any yearly conferences by these journals in the area of Islamic business or Islamic universities, Islamic business schools, and you search more about it. And then you have to present your working paper at conferences. Also, this is very important, very useful, to work with your colleagues or seek feedback from colleagues and experts in the area. Then, if we go to the next slide, the publication criteria, and just 1 second, you see the slides right or not? Just 1 second there. I have to enlarge these slides, but sorry. Okay, publication criteria. Yes, this is the slide here. The research idea should be relevant to the reader of the journal, for example, and also should be interesting. Hello?
Yes, yes.
The research idea should be relevant to the reader of the journal and should be interesting. Also, what we are looking for, the potential contribution. And this is very important to the literature. And in this regard, the contribution, we are looking for contribution to knowledge, theory, method, or practice. And also the empirical implication should be performed to a high technical standards. And also we are looking for the clear theoretical and the practical implications. So what questions? This mainly the publication criteria. And then if we go to the structure of any article, we are looking for, this is the ideal, if we can call it. And of course, Prof. Mohammad, he already shared many things, and just will go through them quick. Number one, the introduction, and we have to consider research objectives, questions, motivation, importance, potential contribution, key findings. You have to highlight the main points and the structure of the paper in the introduction. As the editor, the associate editor, I read the introduction. And this is the key. If the introduction not up to the standard, later on we will talk about disk reject and conditional acceptance and so many things that you need to take care, or we call it extra care about the introduction, because this is the key. And you need to highlight this point, as you can see in the slide. Literature review, this is very important, and you need to explain how your papers, and mainly we are looking for the gap, or you need to highlight what others have done, and also where the gap and how this piece of paper or your work, your contribution will fill this gap. Also, hypothesis development and research method. You need to highlight sample selection criteria, sample period selection, justification of research method. For example, if I select X method or Y method, you need to justify. Not because I like this method, or because I used this method before, or because I know how to use this. You have to justify why you selected this method. You need to talk about data collection a little bit, and also the empirical, and also all instrument or measurement you use, plus the source of data. Next, you need to use you need to take care of the empirical analysis, research findings, accepting, rejecting hypotheses, answering research questions. Discussion, you have to link the findings with literature, theory, and the context. conclusion, also summary of the key findings, application research. You need to include all these points in the conclusion, and last one, the reference. How do you, still we have time, just if or I have to go to the second part of this presentation, Anu, the organizer?
Yes, go on, Prof.
Okay. How do you find the right job? Please feel free to stop me because I have 36 slides. It will take time, but if you feel free to stop me anytime, okay?
Yes,
now,
yes.
how do you find? Normally, you need to check the list of references in your article. This is like, if you call it, step one. Then also to help you for all scholars and many young scholars, you need to target special issues. And any special issue in good journal, you have to target and submit. And try to submit to high quality journal, Q1, Q2. Even if you get rejected, you will get feedback. You will use this feedback. It will help you to submit again to another journal. So, and then the aim and the scope of the journal. This is very important. I have selected a copy from the website of GBAR, and you have to read the aim, the scope of the journal, and before you submit, and you make sure to read it carefully. Also, contribution can be theoretical or empirical. And also I copy here from the website of GBAR, like what we are looking for. Here the scope, development of accounting, auditing, governance, concept as informed by Islamic teaching. The style of the journal, or the next slide, you need to identify, as I've just told you the previous slides, the target journal. And also you need to review at least the last 5 years, most up-to-date journals, articles. Sometimes, like if we go back to the structure of the research paper, in the introduction, as the associate editor, when I read, I find all references coming from like 20 or 10 last 10 years. From that, I start think about to reject or not to process or not to send the article to the reviewers. So you need to highlight at least the last 5 years, the most up-to-date articles, and to highlight that in the introduction. Also, you need to select papers that are similar topic and style to yours. You need to learn from others' experience with the journal, if any. You need to ask your colleagues, have you submitted to this journal? Okay, what you have benefited, and can you tell us more about Y journal or X journal? Get some experience, get some, ask others, if any. Write to the style of the target journal. You must read the instructions to authors. We are looking for that. And also you need to check the I'm not recommend, but you need to check the editor, the associate editor publications, and if relevant, you cite the only related to the relevant to your work. References papers from journals you are submitted, like if you are planning to submit to X journal, as much if relevant, you try to cite some articles from this journal. Now we move to the second part of the publication process, or how to manage high quality journal, for example. First of all, we talk about the submission. You need to write, we call it here cover letter to editor. This is, we have one sample here. I just captured this from Emerald, from Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research. We are using a Scholar One system. You have to be familiar with the Scholar One system, how to use the software or the system, and all, I think, journals published by Emerald, including Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research, they are using Scholar One system. So you have to be familiar with that. Now we go to the editorial office, check what we do, or the editorial office, what they do. They check the aims and scope of the journal, instructions and guidelines. Here I highlighted that, like, editorial office will return your work, your manuscript that not follow instructions. And editorial office, and this is very important, I suggest and recommend all scholars to check we call it similarity. Please check similarity before you submit your work. This is very, very important. Plagiarism is prohibited, not allowed. Even 1%, not allowed. Similarity, it depends on the system. You can have, but also you have to be careful. Please make sure you check the similarity, use any software before you submit. This part done by the editorial office of the journal. And the second part here, the editor, senior editor or associate editor, we consider here three things, like we consider issues raised by the editorial office, like as you can see here, like the aim, scope, instructions, plagiarism, similarity. This is number one. We based our decision based on that, if any, and what we do, we read the manuscript and assess if it's suitable. If we are looking for the contribution, if you have something, you added something in your work, and we make a decision to send the article, your work, to the external reviewers, or not, then we reject. That's why later on we will talk about this reject. The next slide, to make a decision to send the manuscript to reviewers. We have few things here we consider. Number one, we ask, does this manuscript address interesting and novel issues? Or just like you are repeating what others have done? This is number one. And number two, we are looking for the contribution. And for example, incremental contribution in the literature review, for example, this is one example. And the theory, we are looking for that, the contemporary theory. And also, I just to repeat that, is the literature review comprehensive and up to date. Make sure we are looking at least for the last 5 years. And the method, I have highlighted this one, and the result and the recommended implication for the theory and practice. If we have them here in your work, we will send the work to the external reviewers. Now, let's move and talk about the editorial decision. Number one, disk reject. I highlighted a few points related to disk rejection. And reject without review. And the second one, we will talk about each one in a few slides. I have them just here. The disk rejection major like development required, acceptance, conditional acceptance, revise and resubmit, and also I repeated here rejection twice. Yeah. Number one, disk reject means that the editors reject the manuscript without consulting the reviewers because of the criteria I have highlighted in the previous slide. So the editorial office plus our opinion based on the criteria I have highlighted in slide number 14. To benefit more and to avoid disk reject, I recommend you to read this article published by International Journal of Information Management. And this is very useful article. It will help you, and published by Elsevier, and it will help you a lot how to avoid disk reject. Now, let's ask this question: why disk reject? Why disk reject? Let's see. This is very important. The aim, the scope of the journal, instructions, guidelines. You have to take care of these things. And for our not clear academic writing, no real contribution, lack of theoretical consideration and support, poor quality of writing, and ethical issues like plagiarism, self-plagiarism, or submission to two journals at the same time. I have to stop and highlight this point because I work on some journals and I found one manuscript submitted at the same time to two different journals. And this is unethical. You didn't need to submit your article to different journals. You select the journal, you submit, you wait. If reject, then you search for another journal. This is very important, and you have to take care of that. If reject, just remember, we are the editors, associate editor. We are not responsible to find the contribution. Where is the contribution, or to write to you, this is the contribution. You have to take care of that part. So if reject, number one, you need to remember that the editors or reviewers' job to work with the author to improve the manuscript. And it's not our job to tell you the contribution, the author contribution, motivation, and the story. Because we have a lot of articles, so we try to follow the guidelines and decide based on our own criteria. So then we have a few things here. Also, what you need to do also, thank the editors for their comments and try to avoid not to send any aggressive email to the editor, because and here we put some examples, just quick, I will go through the rest of the slides. And if major or sorry, disk reject, but you have to improve the article. We have to highlight the strength here, and you have to take care of this part. And normally it takes 6 months to, in case major. At the acceptance, you need to, we will write, for example, it's our pleasure to accept. This is, we have it in the system. And here, to prepare table to show the how you consider reviewers' comments, and you highlight all these comments. And in case revise and resubmit, normally revision time up to 12 months. And here I'm just quick going through the rest. I'll talk about the golden rules of responding to referees' comments, like answer politely, completely, answer politely, and answer with evidence. And we took this from the Williams article. Of course, all these points here I cited, I took it from different references. And of course, I'd like to thank Professor Khalid Al-Husseini. We get some slides from, we get the slides from him or to share with you today. And here, last but not least, in writing reply to reference, try to avoid opening in case of this reject, such as we totally disagree, or we totally like this. Here I copy from Williams, 2014, and similar phrases. You have to use polite writing in your. In case of reject, here we talk about a lot about rejection. Here the sample of that, if we reject, we regret to inform you that blah blah blah. Here, this is only just sample, and these slides references from. I took these slides from these articles. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Adel Sarea, and Alhamdulillah, I don't have to cut the speech because Prof. Adel already finished, and Alhamdulillah, so we get all of his scores for today. And after Prof. Adel Sarea, I must place our honorable next speaker from Al-Uqud, editor journal, Dr. Ahmad Ajib Ridwan.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, Pak Ajib.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Okay, time is
Dr.
yours,
Asli.
Dr. Ajib.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wala hawla wala quwata illa billah, amma ba'du. The Honorable Professor Dr. Muhammad Hudaib, the Honorable Professor Dr. Adel Sarea, the Honorable Professor Dr. Mahbubi Ali. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In this session, I will present with title Opportunity of Publication in Al-Uqud, Journal of Islamic Economy. The Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Negeri Surabaya, manages 40 scientific journal, 30 research journal, and 1 community service journal. The journal in Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Negeri Surabaya, accredited Science and Technology Index (SINTA) by Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, Republik Indonesia. Journal of Accounting, Journal of Business and Management, Al-Uqud Journal of Islamic Economic, accredited SINTA 2. This categories reputable journal in Indonesia. The Journal of Management Science, Journal of Economic Education, Journal of Office Administration Education, accredited SINTA 3 and SINTA 4. Journal of Accounting Education, Journal of Islamic Economic and Business, Journal of Economic Education, Management and Finance, Journal of Business Education, accredited SINTA 5. The Journal of Accounting, Journal of Economic, Journal of Office Administration, Education and Practice, Journal of Community Engagement, accredited by SINTA 6. Ladies and gentlemen, the roadmap for development of the Journal of Islamic Economic 2020-2026 and 2022. In 2016, the journal initiation, and 2017, this journal published first time and indexed by DOAG. And 2018, this journal accredited SINTA 2 by Ministry Education. And 2019, Al-Uqud Journal of Islamic Economic internationalization, and in 2022, I will index it by Scopus Index. An international journal, Al-Uqud provides a forum for publishing quality research in this area of Islamic economic and business, Islamic banking and finance. This journal has been published by Universitas Negeri Surabaya in cooperation with Indonesian Society for Islamic Economic or Majelis Sarjana Ekonomi Islam. The journal has been accredited by Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology Republic Indonesia with second grade since 2019. This journal published in January and July. Type of peer reviewed applied double-blind peer review. The publisher business model, open access, author fees, no publication fee, average manuscript turnaround time of the serial publication 6 months. Average manuscript abstention rate 20%. Focus and scope Al-Uqud Journal of Islamic Economic encompasses original research article and review article, only selected or invited author, including Islamic economic law, Islamic business management, dia human resource, marketing, halal supply chain, and enterprise system. Islamic banking and finance, Islamic philanthropy, zakah, infak, sodakoh, and wakaf, Islamic business ethic and entrepreneurship, and Islamic insurance. Al-Uqud Journal of Islamic Economic indexing by Directory of Open Access Journal, Science and Technology Index, Dimension, Copernicus, Crowdrest, Muraref, Google Scholar, and Stanford's libraries. Geographic distribution of editor from America, West Asia, South Asia, South Asia, West Africa, Australia, and Western Europe. This country, Indonesia, Australia, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Brunei Darussalam, France, Gambia, Malaysia, Nigeria, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Thailand, United States, and Vietnam. Geographic distribution of author in from Asia and Africa. This country, Asia from Bahrain, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and Turkey. From Africa, Gambia, Libya, and Morocco. And from Europa country, Hungary. Ladies and gentlemen, to make an article published in Al-Uqud, the author should take some guideline into account as follows. Number one, the article to be submitted must be the article has never been published or submitted anywhere. Every article to be submitted in Al-Uqud is allowed to be written in English. The manuscript is at least 5 pages and typed in Microsoft Word with A4 paper format. The article submitted and http journal.unesa.ac.id. The article submitted in this journal include research about Islamic economic or conceptual article or literature review. The manuscript is typed by considering the use of standard language, punctuation, and spelling. In order to be accepted, the author must meet the author guidelines. title, author and affiliation name, abstract, keyword, introduction, literature review, research methods, result and discussion, reference, author contribution, and acknowledgement. Author guideline can be seen on the journal website. Why is article rejected from Al-Uqud? Number one is local issue and low article novelty, low method novelty, presentation of statistical data that is not good. The article does not have analysis and discussion, not following the author guide, poor of language, and reference are not sourced from reputable journal. Finally, thank you. We are waiting for your best paper. Terima kasih. Syukron. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Ajib, as our last speaker for today. And now I would like to open a question and answer session. And so I ask all the participants who have any question to ask directly in the forum, or you can write in the chat box. And okay, I will read the question first from the chat box. The first question is from Mr. Joko Susilo from Indonesian International Islamic University. Looks like the question is for Dr. Mahbubi. The question is as follows. In fact, we know that Indonesia will have 200 and more millions people in 2021. In this data, we have opportunities to be the largest position for Islamic finance development. How to maximize the digital innovation for the real sector, for example, small and medium enterprises? What is the problem with Indonesian policy? Because we have 200 and more millions. In fact, it's just 4 million people. They know about Islamic economics or product in Islamic economics. So I will place Dr. Mahbubi to answer this question. Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Moderator.
Yes.
With the permission of Prof. Hudaib and Prof. Adel, allow me to respond the question. For the first and the second question from Pak Joko. Yeah. The first question is on the embracing digital innovation for business or real sector, and how can we maximize? Yes, I believe it is not always easy to put a digital innovation strategy in place, yeah, for any company, especially for SME with a very limited resources and capacity, as well as the infrastructure. But there are some steps that the company like SME gets started. Of course, many larger companies, yeah, like multinational company, will set up in-house accelerators or innovation center in which their employees can try new ideas, process without disturbing the rest of the business. Yeah. So they have dedicated this kind of in-house accelerators for digital innovation. But for smaller scale like SME, basically the digital innovation can be done by compliance, by simply encouraging a portion of or some of their staff to experiment, yeah, to innovate in digital innovation. Of course, there are some element that need to be taken care in digital innovation. First, of course, the staff. How the staff can be inspired, yeah, the staff who are passionate about moving the company, the business forward, to think creatively about how technology can help the company achieve the objective more effectively and efficiently. The second aspect that you need to consider when it comes to digital innovation is on the process, to create an experimentation process. They allow the company to monitor the progress and to receive feedback, and to make sure that it is taking place outside regular business activities, so that it does not disturb the current operation of the business. The third aspect, of course, of the technology itself, and how the company, the SME, can adopt right technologies. Yeah, they allow the company to merge all aspects of the company's requirement, and that will be different for each company depending on the quality, the size of the company. But it could include things like team management, collaboration, cloud access, and product life cycle monitoring. But of course, last but not least, is on the review, to create a system that for tracking quick win and failure, and this will help you to determine which experiments are worth continuing and which are not. This for the first question, how to implement or maximize the digital innovation in the context of business, especially for the SME. The second aspect, I believe, the second question, I believe, it is more toward on the factors or reason why the Islamic financial and economic literacy in our country is very small. What are the problem with the government, the policy, whatsoever? Allow me to cite the survey finding from the Financial Services Authority on the financial inclusion and literacy done by the OJK in 2019. And the finding discovered that only 8.93%, yeah, of the participant in the survey know about Islamic finance product and services. So our financial literacy index, especially with special reference to Islamic financial product and services, is still below 10%. Compared to the financial literacy for financial product and services for the conventional, it is even very high. It is very much higher, almost 40%. Now, we did a research, granted research grant, awarded by the Central Bank of Indonesia back in 2018 on the determinant of Islamic financial inclusion and Islamic financial literacy in Indonesia, and we found that some barrier, to open account in Islamic banking or to open account in Islamic capital market. For example, the research that we found that of the most important barrier to open saving account, for example, in Islamic banking institution in Indonesia is due to the lack of information about Islamic financial product and services. So many people, including Muslim, are not really aware on the product features, services, the process, the procedure, and how to open that account. I think this is the homework for the industry, for the Islamic financial institution, and how to to accelerate, to maximize their campaign and promotion to the public at large. Now, we did also research on the barrier to financial access in Islamic capital market, because compared to other sector, the financial inclusion to the Islamic capital market is the smallest one. Yeah, and one of the reasons, one of the barrier that we found in our research is due to the lack of knowledge about Islamic capital market, due to lack of information about Islamic capital market product, lack of knowledge about technology in the Islamic capital market. So in a nutshell, basically we found that lack of non-systematic approach toward Islamic financial literacy initiative or agenda, be it by the regulator or by Islamic financial institutions themselves, are one of the main factor behind the low Islamic financial literacy in Indonesia. And we can see now that the focus of our campaign, promotion, and literacy to the public is very much a very ceremonial in nature, not substantive, capturing the high educated people, organizing a very big event in hotel, but people on the street, our people in kampung are not really tapped in this kind of campaign. So they are still untapped market because they don't know the product, they don't know the feature, they don't know the advantage whatsoever. So I think moving forward, we need to establish the more developed and a systematic approach and strategy to enhance financial literacy programs, especially for low-income segment, for the ordinary people, by engaging informal leaders like Kiai. The role of Kiai is very powerful in pesantren, like Ustaz. How, for example, the Islamic finance aspect can be embedded into khutbah of Jumat, for example. How the ceramah in kampung-kampung, in pesantren-pesantren can also include the element of Islamic banking product and services. So this, I think, the challenge that we are facing. And moving forward, if we want to increase our literacy, I think there is no option except to engage our informal leaders, which are very powerful, influential, and many followers. The second one is, of course, to introduce a sustainable community-based education program on Islamic banking and finance, Islamic economy, to also incorporate the Islamic finance curriculums, yeah, in early education institution, even starting from the primary school, yeah, if possible. Not just when we are at the university level, then we are exposed to the Islamic finance. Even so, it is based on the concentration and the faculty that we are taking. Otherwise, we are not, even we are what they call in university level, we are sometimes we are also not aware of the Islamic finance. Empowering, incorporating other aspect of the Islamic finance element in ceramah, in khutbah, in modules. I think this one of the most important thing, how to increase the Islamic financial literacy in Indonesia. And then the last one is on the question on the challenges for Islamic finance to evolve into more innovative product, to take mutation approach instead of imitation approach. I think I just want to mention three things to consider. One is the paradigm shift from just merely the Sharia based Sharia compliant based approach into more holistic approach, taking into consideration the maqasid Sharia, the impact toward people and planet, and also to push Islamic finance as a mainstream financial system, so that it cannot be easily dictated by the conventional finance. And of course, ideally, Islamic finance should serve as a distinct system, not just a subset of conventional finance system. So with that, I think if we can achieve this kind of three steps at least, I think it is much easier for us to develop our product, our Islamic financial product and services from our own civilization, from our own distinct features of Islam and Sharia. Thank you. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Mahbubi. It takes only one question and we have the answer just like a whole lecture today. It is very comprehensive, Dr. Mahbubi. And next, let me see. Looks like it is still from the same person, from Mr. Joko Susiloto. And this questions is for both of Professor Mohammad Hudaib and Prof. Adel Sarea. The question is about the problem in the area of science, literature of science, is about predatory journal. And also how to make our paper or our journal make sense with urgent issues in our research area. The question is how to avoid the predatory journal and how to get the latest issues or the urgent issues in our research area. For example, digital innovation, financial, and Islamic economics. So I would like the first to answer Professor Mohammad Hudaib. I'm sorry, Professor. Looks like you, yes. No voice yet.
Okay, I mean, wouldn't be Dr. Adel to start the answer first, then I follow up? I'm offering to Adel first. Dr. Adel.
Professor Adel.
جزاك الله خير Professor Muhammad. Thank you very much for the question. First of all, if we talk about predatory journals, if you Google it, you will find many thousands of these journals, and try to not to submit. Of course, we don't recommend people to submit any paid journal except open access. That's a different issue, and still I don't recommend people to submit to any paid journal. And the predatory journal, list of predatory journal published or by BL, this guy, if you Google it, you'll find the list of these journals. If we can put it in this way, number one, we don't recommend to publish any predatory journal. Number two, you need to differentiate between paid journal and predatory journals. Paid journal, not all open access. Sorry, you pay for the open access. That will be fine, but the predatory journals, they take the money and they publish the work, and you don't know much about these journals. So just to conclude, try to avoid these journals as much as you can. Now, for the niche area in Islamic finance, as I've mentioned some of my slides, normally the special issue, we are touching the niche area. So you need to search for the special issues in each journal. And now I will give the floor to Professor Hudaib, and he will highlight and add more about these issues.
Okay, again, I agree with Dr. Adel. Predatory journals, basically avoid them. We cannot kill them. We cannot, do anything about them. Even if they send you a fancy email, ask you or tell you your paper is very interesting, we like your paper, submit it. So don't do it, because it will hurt your CV. When you submit your CV, actually people read the journals you publish, not merely where is your paper. And my advice, when you are approached by these journals, don't try to go there. It may be good at the beginning, but it will hurt you in the future. Basically, people will interpret you as very, you don't have a high stamina to really go for reviewed papers. There is some paid journals, which Dr. Adel was mentioning, but they are reviewed. They go through a process, and also they are, indexed, or these very well-known journals. So no harm to go, even if they are paid. Elsevier tend to be Now, most of their problems, because they have editorial problems and review problems, so they want to solve it by introducing some fees. So they paid the reviewers some money in order to do the review. Emerald and other publishers, they refuse this approach. They don't want to take review. So it does not mean that the quality is different, but it's just the strategy of both or different publishers. So this kind of journals come from Croatia or from India, or I don't know where. They send you link, just just delete it or don't accept it. With regard to the contemporary issues, again, yes, that's what Dr. Adel mentioned about you can have a special issue, but this is the responsibility of the journal editorial team. They should actually invite, either create a special issue or make a small seminar, and the background of these seminars, it can be published, at least a selected and good papers. So the editorials, through their own consultation and perhaps some interest staff or colleagues will introduce the area and define the theme, and then any journal can take that. However, but some journals, they are very slow on responding, and some journals take time, or immediately to respond to this. Like our journal, mashallah, Adel was in COVID, and when COVID came, we can see a very strong response. A lot of research on Islamic literature and from Indonesia, Malaysia, Middle East on COVID. If you look at the COVID research now in non-Islamic, they're still thinking, they have not even done much compared to ours. So we are actually very dynamics and our religion, our ethics, and our understanding of local issues prompt us. We have a lot actually to write, and localizing the research is very important. Not necessarily you are just going for a big journals and write articles based on what they write. If they write something, in like fintech, we just go and do fintech. But maybe there's some other issues for us more urgent to cover. So that's more urgent. Although you see it as a dead issue, but for us, no, we have not researched it. We need to highlight this to the good thing in Muslim world, also our governments and our institutions, our industry, listen to us. We have more power actually as a journal, as a researcher, as academics, compared to the academics in the West. The West, they write it just for leisure or for ticking the box for their own career. But Muslims, actually professors and lecturers, research and journals on articles very much reflected. Our people read, and then when you touch on issues like, for example, microfinancing, poverty alleviation, corruption, these are very much in the government listen. So we need to identify our own urgent issues rather than technical, and rather than what's the Western throw at us. Again, back to the Japanese. Do you know what Japanese write? We don't know, but they tend to make their research for their own interest, and even the language. Their language is in Japanese. They didn't try to really hit or target Western journals. They have good journals in Japan, and then they accept any output, whether it's a chapter, a book, or a journal or article. I mean, so because they don't want to lose the real objective of writing and engaging. Academics is different than intellectual. So you need to be an intellectual when you start thinking and caring about your society, about other people, your own economy, your people around you. You are intellectual, and that's a class or a group. That's where you start thinking, having real topics and good work, and will last. But if you want to be academics, you can't write, paper every 6 months or 2 months. You just write, you put 2 factors and put this with this and make analysis, and you find many journals will apply. So you get a title every 6 months. But this is not an intellectual. And we try to being an intellectual, you get rid of the predators, and you become very close and attached to really the good, urgent, and most important topics. So it's just focusing and getting away from the temptation of doing a quick articles for your own self-interest. You need to sacrifice. I could write actually every month. I receive demand from my colleagues, everywhere. They said, "Can you join work with me?" I tend to say no, because my agenda and trying really to keep something I want to write. It takes slow, but I want it to be more intellectual, engaging. So, just train yourself to, be a little bit, engage with the public rather than yourself on your CV. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Professor Hudaib and Professor Adel Sarea. It's very ideal actually for me, and it just look like we have idealism, right, Professor Hudaib, that the Scopus is not everything, but we need Scopus to do something. I think that to underline. I'm afraid we have one more question, and it is from Miss Mariam binti Badrul Munir, our colleague from Universitas Negeri Surabaya. The question is for Prof. Hudaib. I want to ask about qualitative research, because some publications prefer to accept quantitative research because of result of number in the findings. Can you give the success key to accept the qualitative research to be published in an international journal? How about that, Professor?
Yeah, qualitative is generally speaking is much difficult and tough to publish. Compare with quantitative. Two reasons. Number one, the platforms, the journals that accept qualitative, very limited. If you look to American journals, all these high rated, actually they are almost all of them are quantitative. The moment you send them qualitative, they send it back to you. So that's number one. Number two, the method of writing qualitative requires a lot of patience, take more time to actually prepare the papers. So you need to understand the difficulties. Now, what will happen in some universities, actually, they are very considerate. When you write qualitative, they require from you less output compared to those who write quantitative. So if you are economics and your finance and you write all regression, they said we need, for example, 4 papers. Those who use qualitative, they want 1 paper is enough. Or at least you are engaging in a meaningful research. Before, for example, when I did my PhD, I was doing a qualitative, and I was searching for a theory that fit my own research question. And I found actually no theory, because all the theories written was westernized, more up towards the atheist perspective. And I'm trying to apply to Muslims, Islamic perspective. So I need to design a theory and then kind of introduce a new dimension to the theory in order to fit the Islamic background. So when you are writing qualitative, you need to also pay attention to the possibility that you need to find another theory or you develop another theoretical dimension, or especially writing about Indonesia, for example, or the economic differences in, for economy like in Indonesia. That's where you need to prepare yourself to write. And the process when you do it, actually by itself, your university should recognize you. Not necessarily because you are engaging in something, as I said, intellectual, scholarly, and you are creating something new. Most of the theories actually you are using, they're not published in journals. They're published either in the professor's handbook, means he has like a syllabus. Most actually, my theory is the one I use. It was in Chicago University. The professor never published it. We are using his own netbook syllabus, his slides. Last time he write them handwriting. So we use his theory and his thinking. But this should be high value than the econometrics. But over the time, you need to engage with proper professors or people who are writing this area, which will help you for publications. This is my own experience. So if you write an AOS or you write critical, you need to go with the group of people who are writing criticals, engage with them. And they're very actually more approachable than the econometrics. Econometrics people very much, they create their own concepts, their own cult, their own group, and then you speak their language, and then they tend not to be very open for variety, for new ideas. In Indonesia, you are actually, in my view, you should write qualitative. Your economic status and the growing of your economy, you need more qualitative, more theoretical than quantitative, because quantitative does not give you much, solve most of the problems. Variety, you are actually diversified country, the economy in different, and you are bottom-up society. So you need that. You need to embed this, and that's where, as I said, go to the Japanese model of publications. You notice Japanese actually talk about themselves. They care about how to improve themselves. Any publications outside, they're not interested. And that's where you zoom and really you go back to yourself and said, okay, do I care about the West or the real, other people? If they recognize my work or no, I don't care. Do I make a benefit to my own people and my, that's what we need to think. And then after 5 years, your paper will be a reference because someone in, let's say, different country will start looking to your work. So you are actually investing in a longer future. And that's what I think we should really engage. As far as you want to publish, there is, of course, you need to read, there's some good books I can recommend you later about methodologies in qualitative, like they are, they're using, the social constructive methodologies, where they use like some kind of symbolic interactionism, or the interpretive approach and critical approach. These are small books, but actually they can help you to read. So can be, you need to read more of these books and some of the, because any paper you read on qualitative, they will not make their own theory visible. They hide it because the publisher said, no, I don't want you to repeat someone's work. If you say, for example, I'm writing about bloomers, symbolic interactionism. If I write section about bloomers, about this bloomers theory, it said, no, we don't want that. You are repeating someone else. Rewrite your literature review, rewrite your methodology, your empirics, and everything using Bloomer's language. It's like as if you are interpreting, seeing it through lens, the glass, see through that theory. And now I'm writing up using the same theory, writing about the Islamic charity in the West, using symbolic interactionism. It took me now about 3 or 4 years. I'm writing this paper, but you need to really be patient, and you have to make sure your institutions recognize your effort as that you are engaging, and then this will help you. That will be count for you. If you give a seminar, should be counted for you as a paper, or if you call for small seminars, or you present it in a conference, or write it in a chapter in a book, this should be good. We have to admit that. Suppose someone writing, for example, Islamic tafsir. You think this tafsir will go to Western journal? They'll reject it. They don't recognize Quran anyway. So, but for us, it's valuable. We need to know it. We need to understand it. So give it to us. So why you hide it? We should. So I think it is tough that compared to the econometrics approach, but at the end it's rewarding if you can afford to really do it. And the final point, don't square yourself or put yourself in one area. Try to be diversified, little bit qualitative, little bit quantitative. So you can do both research. Some will feed, your demand, maybe university want you to publish, so you can publish here, and then you go, inshallah, to the other more serious work, whereas, that take longer. So you need to have a strategy of, fast publication and, slow one will take time. But, and you need to engage with people like, outside. And then those people, as I said, work in critical, interpretive, very much approachable in your topic. Someone, for example, talking about organ donation and organ trafficking in Latin America. So those people actually contact, or drug addiction and problem with it. So they contact many people outside. So you need to have your own network, and it's very, rewarding. Latin America, most of their research actually qualitative, most of it's not quantitative. So you need to identify the network, and then it will help you from there. They'll guide you, inshallah.
Thank you, Professor Hudaib. And looks like it caused many other questions to come
Okay.
because of your statement.
Okay.
And I think the next question, I have two more questions actually from Ms. Mariam and Mr. Hudaifa. And I believe if the participant asks directly, it would be better, I think. So Ms. Mariam, perhaps you can directly ask Dr. Mahbubi.
Okay, thank you, Sir Arashi. So audience can listen my voice, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I want to ask to Sir Mahbubi Ali. Actually, the topic that the present previous so interesting, but this is the simple question from me to Sir Mahbubi Ali. Is it okay because the camera is still off?
Hello, Dr. Mahbubi. Okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, so actually this is a simple question. I want to know how the preparation for the Islamic financial institution to be alert for the innovation, because the innovation with the time become more quickly for the period time, right? So we have to wait for the acceptance for the society. So how about the time limit for the Islamic financial institution about the innovation to get the Islamic product to be accepted by the society? So can you tell the specific period for the Islamic financial, Mr. Mahbubi Ali?
Sorry, the timeline for what?
Timeline, yes, timeline for the
developing one product.
Timeline for the acceptance, the innovation that should Islamic financial institution put for the acceptance the society, because like you mentioned before, there is the high impact if the Kiai promote the Islamic product like that, then something like that. Okay, so for the Islamic financial institution itself, put the time limit to get the acceptance from the institution itself, the acceptance to innovation for the how long period? Can Mr. Mahbubi explain the time period? Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Mariam. Do you want my honest response?
Yes. Actually,
Wallahu a'lam. My honest response, wallahu a'lam bisawab. Allah knows better. I think Prof may have the proper timeline, but I think it all depends on first the regulatory support.
Okay.
The second one is on the infrastructure. The third one is on the Islamic financial institution readiness to innovate. Because sometimes not all Islamic financial institutions are ready to move away from the current regime, replicating most of the conventional product in most of their features and characteristics to come up with more genuine one, from the Islamic heritage. This is the challenge. So we need, of course, the strong government support to push for innovation. See, for example, in Malaysia, if I can share with you, in 2019, Malaysia, via its Sharia Advisory Council of Bank Negara Malaysia, banned the wide application of Ar-Rohan facility. Yeah, the pot breaking facility that has been in existence for the past 40 years. And we consider that the existing product is not Sharia compliant. Then with this kind of what they call changes in regulatory landscape, regulatory requirement, then there is a push from the top to down to innovate, to create and to find the alternative. This year, the authority of Malaysia issued the financial blueprint 2020-2026, in which one of the provision, one of the call is to reconsider the wide application of tawarruk concept, which is currently being the dominant concept in Islamic financial institution in Malaysia, contributing more than 50% of the total financing portfolio. Even in the funding side, for some Islamic banking, the funding side of like deposit for the Islamic bank is even more than 90% based on tawarruk. So there is a need for strong movement from regulatory, from the regulator to push for this kind of innovation, so that the industry can think beyond their comfort zone. Otherwise, if there is no regulatory support, there is no political will, I don't think the industry will move to the next level in terms of the innovation and development of financial product. Of course, the second aspect is on the Islamic financial product, Islamic financial institution readiness, as to whether their internal product development teams are capable enough, for example, to design a new product in a Sharia compliant manner, in a Sharia compliant way, without any without compromising the business requirement and other operational aspect. The infrastructure, the IT system, especially if we are leveraging on the parent banking, the core banking system is still conventional. How the system, for example, can capture the execution of the Sharia contract in innovative Islamic financial product, for example. So again, it depends first on each jurisdiction might have a different timeline, might have a different speed. The second one, of course, in particular jurisdiction, it all depends on the various factors surrounding the Islamic financial innovation, in terms of the regulators, in terms of the Islamic financial institution, infrastructure, system, and the public awareness and literacy as well, not to forget for that. So I don't think we have a very concrete and exact timeline for that matter. Like when we put the market share, for example, you remember last time we put market share of 10% of market share in Islamic bank in Indonesia since last time, but until now we did not reach that kind of share. So the timeline, yes, you can put, but whether we achieve or not, it all depends on various factors surrounding it. Allahu a'lam. Thank you for the question. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mahbubi and Ms. Mariam. And for the last question, Dr. Hudaifah.
Yes, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good evening, everyone. My question is addressed for Professor Hudaib. I am very delighted that Professor Hudaib mentioned about the future of Islamic economics in the hands of qualitative research. I just wonder about Professor Hudaib's explanation on such issue. That do you think that Prof. Hudaib, the qualitative research should utilize the multi-dimensi or multi-disciplinary approach for that undertaking? Because if a student, PhD student, for instance, or a researcher embarks on the qualitative research, they are not really relying on the interview strategy, but also they have to conceive and also understand the way about the research problem and so on and so on. Sometimes it requires a lot of both multidisciplinary approach. I think I hope that my question can be understood by Prof. Hudaib, and thank you very much. And I appreciate committee has delivered so beneficial program. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
I'm sorry, Professor, your voice is not yet.
Okay. Sorry. This question actually very fundamental, very very deep-seated in Islamic, in Muslim world actually, and also non-Muslims. Now the problem, if you want to study Islamic economy, you must have an equivalent and developed Islamic methodology. At the moment, the research methodologies we are trying to use, if you are building literature review, or that's fine, but then when you come to really try to sell your Islamic economy or research Islamic economy, if you are using multidisciplinary, most of the research methodology are Western oriented. If you understand where they come from, you know they are coming from two routes. Either very solid Christian, Judeo-Christian belief, this is methodology, or very much atheist. For example, Nietzsche and the people like him, he doesn't believe. He used to be Christians. They are actually very deep fanatic about Christianity, but then after reading about Christianity, they become atheists, and then they start developing the issue of how to govern society through no God, or through that different method, or atheism. So now what will happen here? Most of the research you are borrowing, there's a value seated, there's a non-Islamic. So and that's why when you start developing your research and then you deliver it to a Western, he knows where you're getting from. If you're getting non-Islamic, he said, you are very weak fundamentally. You are using Christian, Judeo-Christian, or atheist methodology to talk about Islamic. Islam, you need to develop an Islamic methodology, and that's what actually the lacking. I have a proposal. I'm proposing a book on Islamic methodology. This is about 10 years ago. I'm thinking about it, me and my colleague, Prof. Hanifa and others. The first phase we faced with many Muslims, they said, is there anything says or something called Islamic methodology? We don't know this. Actually, you are inventing something. But because they didn't understand the current research methodology are not Islamic. It's not compatible, no matter what. This is why I said when I use symbolic interactionism, it was lacking capturing the Islamic values. I'll give you example. Now, if you are using method like even the positivism, they assume people to be rational. If I tell you, you will do, if I give you more money, more rewards, you will be doing certain things. But in Muslim doesn't work. He said, no, if it's haram, I will not do it. Even if you give me 1 million rupiah every day, I will not do this thing. If you give me a lot of money, I will not do. This is religion will not, it's not captured in a positivist model. But then they try not to consider or capture this. But if you are using methodology which is Islamic, then you say, no, this doesn't work. It's a bounded rationality. Muslims, they have their own culture. Actually, even as a Muslim or Asian, we care about our name, how people see us. Very conscious about that. So will prevent us from not doing certain things. But because we are now borrowing an Islamic, non-Islamic, even all our economy actually developed as non-Islamic. This is why I find a lot of corruptions, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of problems. So you have to, as a multiple methodology, you have to use the political and ethical approach. don't take, this is from Western, it's fine, you can take that, because the political, like, I think those who talk about, the politics or the power in society, where is the power lie? Is it in the top or in the lower? So in Islamic, you see where's their approach. Islam always approach the lower ground. But most of the political theories and ethical theories, they are coming from how the institution control. Like Adam Smith. Adam Smith, actually, he doesn't believe in most of the theories he's developing, but because he is trying to help the empire, the British Empire, capturing America and control America. So most of the intellect, or the so-called ulama, they start coming with a theory in order to understand people behavior, and then they control them. You need to control it then. So before you go into multidisciplinary, you need to design a theoretical approach that is fit Muslims or Islamic economy, then you can deliver it. And I have to say, most of our ulama, they don't have much understanding of, they knew, for example, the methodology used by Al-Bukhari, how Bukhari used his own hadith, or how he writes his hadith. There's a methodology there. We still have really not developed much. So it's very actually problematic, and that's why you, as a researcher in Islamic economy, you'll find a lot of, you cannot see things clearly. You'll struggle with that. I don't know how to help you, but multidisciplinary, yes, but you have to be very selective. Who wrote, or which one is that? Is this person or this theory are using very much closer to Islamic, fit Islamic or not? If not, you need to abandon. Like, Hegel. Hegel is fanatically Christian, and he believed in human being to be controlled by force and to be suppressed to the king and the high power. This is in his writing. So if you take Hegel theory, you're actually you're abandoning Islam. Islam, no, people has to be free, have to be. So you need to read where or you need to know which theory you're taking and how they much fit our Islamic fitrah and Islamic, tawheed. And then after that, you find yourself is fine. So because there is some philosophers who split from Hegel, they don't believe in him, and then actually become anti. So they want the power. They said the power and source of human is the lower ground of people, and humanity is the source of regulating ourselves, not power, not the political or the lord or the king's power or the government. So what you have here is that you're very closer to Islam, and then how to govern ourselves, that's where we start different from the atheists. Atheists, they said, you think about your desire, and for us, no, we said use Islam, use the Quran, use our source on how to regulate our relationship. Like, like for example, take economics. If you talk about the economy in taxation or zakah, you see the taxation actually imposed just to control the people on the ground for the benefit of the people on the top. The history of it, the lords, and they don't want to actually invest in building roads and giving the people on the ground any money to develop their schooling and education. So they said, you collect the money from them and spend it on themselves. So there's nothing will come from the top to, if you need more surface, tax people more. But it's not Islamic. Islamic is zakah. Zakah approach is different. So, but some people believe and they take it as something, okay, it's given to us from the West. We just take it and without actually analyzing what is the source of this. So it's very actually, you need another seminar, another research on this topic, on Islamic research methodology. And that's really challenging, and really you are capable of doing it. Inshallah, we are hoping in UNESA to do something like that.
Thank you, Professor. So illuminating. Appreciate. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your explanation.
MashaAllah. Thank you, Dr. Hudaifa. He is one of our colleagues too from International University of Semen, if I'm Right.
It's his job now. He has a job to really do something like that. Now he has to search do more of that this time.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Hudaib. And looks like we are at the end of the agenda. And Alhamdulillah, we have a lot of a lecture today. It's not only about how to break the journal barrier, but also, if I'm not mistaken, we have studied also about philosophy, about economics, about history from Professor Hudaib. It's all very comprehensive, and thank you also for Professor Adel, and it is very pleased to know the Kuliatul of Adab, that how Professor Hudaib asked Professor Adel to ask first. It is Kuliatul Adab for us, and thank you. And also Dr. Mahbubi, he is originally from Indonesia, but he works in outside of our country, but he doesn't forget his blood, that he is coming from Indonesia. Thank you a lot, Dr. Mahbubi, and all of the participants. Thank you. And so I close for today's meeting, and I return to MC Ms. Fitriah. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much,
Waalaikumsalam
Dr.
warahmatullahi
RRC.
wabarakatuh.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now is the handing over of webinar certificates to all speakers and moderator. It will be delivered by our Head of Publication Division, Artificial Intelligence and Publication Unit, Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Dr. Binar Kurnia Prahani, SPD MPD, to Dr. Binar Kurnia Prahani, SPD MPD. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for Professor Mohammad Mahbubi and Professor Hudaib. The first special thanks for your time to support our journal, especially Al-Uqud, to keep the quality and improve the quality and quantity to get the Scopus Index. Thank you very much for all. Special for Assoc Professor Mohammad Mahbubi Ali, Ph.D. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay. Second, thanks for Professor Mohammad Hudaib for the support in Al-Uqud. Thanks for your time to guide this journal.
Pleasure to be with you.
See you in Surabaya. I like your dress, batik. In the last, thanks for Professor Dr. Adel Sarea. Hello, Prof.
Yes, thank you very much. My pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My honor for you. Yeah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Inshallah. Barakallah. Thank you very much. Maybe another. And the last for our head committee Al-Uqud editor-in-chief Dr. Ahmad Ajib Ridwan. This is our college to guide the Al-Uqud to index Scopus. We hope in years we get the Scopus index. Amin. Thanks for support for all, and to committee, it's grateful honor for us. The last, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for all.
Thanks to Associate Professor Muhammad Mahbubi Ali, PhD, and Professor Muhammad Hudaib, Professor Dr. Adel Sarea, and Dr. Ahmad for the information and knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the photo session. Could we take our picture together, Prof? And please to all participants, please open your camera. Let's take us picture. All right. We are waiting. Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, ladies and gentlemen, finally we get to the last session in this event, that is closing. Let's close this event by saying Hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. As the Master of Ceremony, thanks to Associate Professor Muhammad Mahbubi Ali, Ph.D., thanks to Associate Professor Muhammad Mahbubi Ali, Professor Muhammad Hudaib, Professor Dr. Adel Sarea, and Dr. Ahmad Ajib as the speaker. Thanks to the committee and the audience entirely. May what we had conducted will be useful for us. Ladies and gentlemen, if in guiding this event I made mistakes or offend someone here, please forgive me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank
It is a rare opportunity to meet.
you very much, bro.
Inshallah, see you soon. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Barakallah.